Ladies and gentlemen, game week 15 predictions in the books. Some of us did better than others. We'll get onto that in just a second. While I have you guys here, I'm going to do the classic YouTuber thing. James and I are learning the game now here a little bit. Please hit that subscribe button if you're not subscribed already. Really helps me and James out, growth of the channel, all that good stuff. Drop a like on the video while you're down there. And very importantly for this channel, we want to hear your predictions. You know, James and I don't want any chirping away from you, criticising our predictions if we don't get to see yours. So put your comments down there with your predictions. James, let's look at how we did for game week 15. Like I said, some of us did better than others. You had a 6-4 game week. Pretty good. 3-7 for me. My overall is 63-76. Your overall is 61-78. So you're just 2 games behind me now after catching me up those 3 spaces. So you're catching up on me, and it doesn't make me feel good about myself. But let's get into it. Game week 16 predictions. Manchester City at home versus Brentford. James, how many goals do you have Man City beating Brentford by?
Jack, you know, I really want to back Brentford here. And Jack, you know what I'm like.
Yeah,
I do. You know how I can get in certain situations. You know when I give you that look or I do that.
Maybe. Just stick it on upset alert. We can give you a shout out.
This is on an upset alert. This is on upset alert, but it's just hard to bet against this Manchester City team. I feel like the fact that they lost the man and they were able to huff and puff and create opportunities and obviously get the last minute penalty. They're irresistible. It's hard to stop them at any point. The only team that they drop points to has been a flying Newcastle team, Villa away and Liverpool away. So at home they've had a perfect record, and I just see that continuing. Let's say 3-1 Manchester City.
Yeah, James, I got 3-0 for the main reasons that you've said. I don't think this is necessarily on upset watch or anything of that nature for me. One thing I will say, and this is going to be a little bit of a theme for me over the course of this week, and then kind of the final couple of matches that we have here before the World Cup starts. The elite of the elite players. And what I mean by that is the starting players for French team, Spanish team, German, Brazil, Argentina, any team that thinks they can win this World Cup, a starting player. They're going to pull out of challenges, I think. They're going to start doing that. The jump, the bicycle kick, the 50-50, they're going to start pulling out of these because these guys want to play in the biggest sports tournament that the world has to offer, which is the Football World Cup, the FIFA World Cup. I'm not saying it's going to happen, and I don't think it will be to a detriment where Brentford draw the game or lose the game, but I can see the likes of, a De Bruyne, Ruben Diaz, whoever it may be, just not going all in for these club games because they know what's on the horizon in the next couple of weeks. So 3-0 for me in that Man City game. Moving on to Anfield. Southampton coming to town. Again, we know my thoughts about Southampton. I hate picking their games, hate it, because I do think that they're just capable. James, we saw with Aston Villa what that new manager bounce can do to a football team. Ralph Hasenhüttl has been sacked. I believe the Luton Town manager, head coach, I have no familiarity with him at all. He's the rumoured favourite. I don't know if that's been announced yet or not, a little behind on that. But when you go to Anfield, especially with the way that the Liverpool have been kind of on and off, but I feel like there's something building there at Liverpool. 3-0 victory for me for Liverpool. Who do you have? Liverpool, Southampton?
It's weird, Jack, because this is the game that is a banana skin because
Right.
I think Liverpool, they're going to find it easy getting up for a big game against City away to Tottenham, and we've seen that with the 2 victories. Even Napoli, they want to put a statement down. These are the games that seem to be really, really tricky for Liverpool this season. We've seen on a number of occasions, Fulham, having to lose to Nottingham Forest, Leeds. It happens a lot for Liverpool. So this could be a banana skin, but I like to think that Liverpool can just get the result here. I don't see this being, Jack, a easy game for them. I see this being one where, Southampton may even take the lead and Liverpool might come back. So I'm going to say 2-1 Liverpool.
2-1 Liverpool, a little closer for you on that one there. James, Bournemouth, another South Coast team welcoming Everton to town. Who have you got in this one? Kind of a tricky game, if you ask me.
It's a tricky game. Bournemouth have failed to win in the last 5. They've had 4 losses in a row. The game against Leeds, a bit tragic for them, having taken a 3-1 lead and losing it the way they did was a bit of a gut punch. But Everton, on the other hand, haven't been that great, and they've only won 1 in their last 5. It hasn't been spectacular for them. For me, they were convincingly defeated against Leicester. Had some chances, but the biggest thing for me with Everton is that they don't score enough goals. You know, even like a player like Calvin DCL, who is good, you know, but Jack, as a goal scorer, I don't think he's amazing. He came on and he had chances here and there. He fluffed his lines. This one is it screams 0-0.
Right.
It screams a 0-0. But I'm just gonna back Everton. I'm gonna say 1-0 Everton.
1-0 Everton. James, I've got the same score difference in terms of what Everton winning by 1, but I do think there'll be 3 goals in this game. You look at the goals against. I mean, Bournemouth have conceded 32 goals this year. Compare that with Everton, who I believe I just had it up here. I think it was 14 or 15. So Bournemouth have conceded twice the amount of goals that Everton have. You already mentioned the problem. Everton don't put the ball in the opposition goal. With Calvert-Lewin back, right, it feels to me like a little bit of newfound confidence. I know they lost their last game, and like there's a draw and but it's picking up to more turbulent than it was just totally flat with them losing games and drawing games. There is the odd win that's being dotted in here and there, and I do feel like there's a growing confidence of a recovery here for Everton that will see them not getting relegated. I just think that there's enough with Calvert-Lewin coming back. We talked about him, Victor Osimhen. There's kind of similarities there with Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Really, really good athlete. Awkward to play against. Like you said, this isn't the most clinical finisher ever who's going to bag you, one-of-one opportunities to have your team, break a game. But he's going to run channels. He's going to be annoying in the defensive part of the game as well. And he's going to give you something that none of your other players can really, really give you. So I'm going to stick with the fact that Everton are going to be a little awkward, score more goals, and just sneak this one out. Staying with me, go to East London, going to West Ham. Leicester coming to town. James, Leicester are starting to annoy me here too in terms of picking games, because I think you and I can agree with this. Yuri Tielemans, right? James Maddison, Harvey Barnes, there's Castagna. There's some nice, generally speaking, there's some nice players that Leicester have. And I think that you and I would probably agree this should be a Europa League fighting, a Conference League fighting level football team, and they have the players to be able to do that. But for whatever reason this year, the start has been appalling. I've seen a couple of bright sparks in recent weeks, but for me, against the West Ham team, I'm really struggling to pull the trigger. But James, I am going to pull the trigger. I'm going to have West Ham scoring 1. I'm going to have Leicester scoring 2, though. I just wonder if West Ham will get caught a little bit flat-footed. Maybe James Maddison, Yuri Tielemans. Yuri Tielemans is just hitting bangers at the moment. Whether they hit the crossbar or whether they go in or get saved, man's dangerous from deep. And James Maddison's a little magician in there as well. I'm just going to back the fact that I think Leicester have the individual star power, and also on top of that, James, they have the confidence, I think, going forward to beat a team like West Ham who do seem to be being caught a little flat-footed. So 2-1 Leicester for me in that one. Who have you got?
Jack, this is a tough one for me, because just like you, Leicester have caught fire and they're becoming the team that we've always knew them to be. The West Ham recent record against Leicester is actually decent.
Right.
3 wins, 1 draw, and to be fair, being at the London Stadium, we know what West Ham can offer. We know the qualities. This is a team that, at a certain point, Jack was challenging for the top 6.
Right.
But Europe is a big issue for them. But I'm gonna back them, Jack. I'm gonna say 2-0 West Ham.
2-0 West Ham, I like it. One of the differences there. Hopefully I can extend a bit of a lead, because it's not been a good week for me, James, this past week. Staying with you, James, Spurs. Sorry to make you talk about Spurs first. I'm sorry about that. But Leeds United, kind of awkward, kind of under pressure. Leeds United coming to town for Antonio Conte and Spurs, who've not really been at their best. Who have you got taking home the points in this one?
Kulusevski coming back is massive for Tottenham.
Oof.
I feel like Tottenham without that player who can stretch the field is almost non-existent at times, because Harry Kane doesn't run in behind there. There isn't much with Perisic, so Kulusevski being there is massive for them. But I like what this Leeds team have done. The last 2 games, been able to pick up 2 big victories, beating Liverpool and at Anfield, and coming back against Bournemouth was massive for them. We might as well just go for it. We might as well just have a bit of fun, Jack. 2-1 Leeds. Let's have a bit of fun. Let's go 2-1 Leeds. I like how unpredictable they can be. And Jack, we all know what the stats with Tottenham. yes, it's probably one where Leeds will take the lead, and then Tottenham will grow into the game as they always seem to do in the second half.
Right.
They'll take the storm. But I just feel that it could be a game where it could, just like the Anfield game, it could be a 1-1 thing. Both teams are going for in the second half, especially Tottenham, and then Leeds can hit them with the sucker punch. So I'm going to say 2-1 Leeds.
Look, mate, I know you said it was a little bit of fun kind of thing, but this isn't like picking Nottingham Forest away at the Etihad to win. There's some reasons to like believe what you've, all the stuff you've said and the scoreline you've got there.
They're a dangerous team, Jack. They're a really dangerous team.
And James, the negativity around Spurs is palpable. I agree with what you said. I think Dejan Kulusevski, it's one of the better attacking players in world football, let alone, just good for Spurs and just good for the Premier League. Dejan Kulusevski is one of the better right wingers in world football. He's going to make a huge, huge difference to this Spurs side. But to me, the whole sentiment around Tottenham at the moment is just negative. And like I said, I think the cracks are starting to show with this Conte relationship with Spurs. And I think that whether it's going to be by the end of this season or in the off-season or early at the start of next season, Antonio Conte will not be the manager there anymore. The relationships start to break down. Leeds are riding high. However, I do just think I can't see Leeds 3 on the bounce and getting 3 wins, 2 of them against Liverpool and Spurs. If you'd have said that to me, I'd have been like, no way. It's got to come crashing down at some point. But I don't think Spurs will have enough to just totally outright beat them with the negativity. So I'm going to go with 1-1. I'm going to try and thread the needle and call the draw for that one. Nottingham Forest welcoming Crystal Palace. James, again, I'm really impressed with this Crystal Palace team. You know my kind of thoughts on this. I think Patrick Vieira's done an incredible job since coming in there. The turnover of the squad, an ability to kind of, take them out of kind of the negative direction they felt they were going in by bringing in these new names who have, I think, generally speaking, done really, really well. Basically replacing an entire defensive line. The attacking, side of the game, you've got a few new additions in there. The midfield's basically changed as well. So I'm always very impressed with what he's been able to do with Crystal Palace. Nottingham Forest, again, it's the same old stuff. Again, I make the joke about the soundboard. I'm going to press the button again. This turnover of players that they've got, there are no new relationships. Nobody knows what the hell's going on. I think there's more unity, better consistency, and they've got the difference makers for Crystal Palace to do a job against Nottingham Forest. So I'm going to say 2-0 Palace beating Nottingham Forest. Who have you got in that one?
Jack, I know it's very early in the season, but down the bottom it's still very tight. It's not like there's a big distance between them. So a win for Nottingham Forest, takes them out of the drop zone. Let me just make sure. Yes, it does. Obviously depend on like the amount of goals they score and other results going their way. But Jack, as you mentioned about this Crystal Palace team, and I say it every single week, Jack, I'm impressed. Yeah. I'm impressed from what I've seen. Can he make the jump of taking his Crystal Palace team into the top half on a regular basis? That's the big thing. But Jack, the qualities of players like Eze, Zaha, Michael, Elise, like, to me, like I seen the video of Arsene Wenger mention Elise needed to score goals, and he responds by getting a goal in the last game. He is an absolute threat, and I just love what Crystal Palace does, and especially away from home when the team does come at them. The spaces in behind is going to be there. When you have players who can destroy teams 1v1 like they have, it's a recipe for disaster, not just against a team like Nottingham Forest, but any team, a Man City, whatever. So I'm going to back Crystal Palace, and I'm going to say 2-1 Crystal Palace.
2-1 Crystal Palace. I like it. James, coming with you, game of the week, in my opinion. I think you'll probably share my sentiments there. Newcastle United welcoming Chelsea. Chelsea coming off that loss at home to high-flying Arsenal. Newcastle feeling themselves in a big way. This, James, in seasons past, you'd go, well, Chelsea win, move on to the next game. I'm not so sure these days. What have you got for this one?
Jack, I'm just looking at the recent history right now. Chelsea are just absolutely dominant. In the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In the last 8 games, Chelsea won 7 of them. Oof. So this has been a fixture that predominantly Chelsea have been dominant throughout the past seasons. But Jack, Newcastle last 5 undefeated, won 4 straight. You got Almiron just making Jack Grealish eat his words. You got Bruno Guimaraes, you got called up for the Brazilian team. He's been outstanding. Callum Wilson, Joe Linton, you know, they got St. Maximini, even coming back, Kieran Trippier. Like, the names are just there. And listen, this is a team that we know the investment there. We know that the aim is to challenge for the top four and then ultimately try to possibly one day win a league, which I think is going to be very, very difficult for them. But I find it hard to bet against this team. Chelsea don't seem to be the same aura. I mentioned the lack of confidence there. The forward thing seems to be a bit of an issue. Recent history tells you Chelsea. But I'm going to go for the tune. I think the crowd's going to be there. I think the atmosphere is going to be there. I'm going to say this is going to be a big one, Jack. I'm going to go 3-1.
I can't believe this, James. I've got the exact same score.
Newcastle.
I can't believe you said 3-1.
Newcastle. I couldn't even say 4-1 Newcastle. They might be in the mood even more.
Look, Jack, I got 3-1 as well. Guys, we're seeing this Newcastle team is Manchester City 2008. This is Joe Elano, right? That's a great shout, Jack. That is one hell of a shout, Jack. But that's who we're dealing with. I do think in the next decade, in the next 10 years, mark my words, save the video. Me and James will have this on TikTok in 10 years. Newcastle United will win a Premier League title in the next 10 years. I think they will. There's way too much money, way too much investment, and as long as the right decisions are made at the very, very top, a Premier League title is a guarantee. Again, one of my sayings, the relationship between money and football is undeniable. They have more money than any other team in the world. It's only going to trend in one direction. I'd say they're a little ahead of schedule, but I don't think that's a problem. Chelsea struggling a little bit. I wonder if maybe it's time to unleash Broja, right? Have him start games. I don't like this. You know, what have they done? Kind of a Kai Havertz, Pulisic. I'm missing some names, but they kind of do these three kind of not strikers but attacking players as a front three. I think Chelsea Football Club, James, we know this over the history. Diego Costa's, Didier Drogba's. They need that focal point, and I think Broja needs his time to shine.
Massive, Jack. I think the biggest thing for Chelsea is that I don't think that they know who they are as a team, as a club right now. And I don't think Graham Potter knows what he wants from this Chelsea team. No. You see a lot of changes. You see sometimes he's playing Raheem Sterling at wing back. I'm not sure. But sometimes he goes for 3, sometimes he goes for 4. But he's not sure what is the best system for this team. And I feel like it's going to be a topsy-turvy season for Chelsea this year.
Yeah, look, it will. I've got 3-1 in that one as well. I just think unleash Broja, get Havertz around him, get Mount around him, get these kinds of players around that main focal point. That's what Chelsea Football Club are, and that's where they're at their best. Staying with me, Wolverhampton Wanderers welcoming Arsenal to town. James, big smile on his face for how Arsenal are performing. And James, my little checklist of how Arsenal are performing against, Chelsea away, Man City, both games, those were the main markers where I was going to look at Arsenal and see where they're at in terms of their mentality. James, I wouldn't even mind if they lost against Chelsea and lost against Man City in these games. It's how it looks when they lose. Those are the big markers for me as to how convinced I am and how all in I'm going to be with this Arsenal team, not just for this year, but for the next 2 or 3 years. And James, they look pretty good in the last game week, and I do not see that stopping against a Wolves side who are completely toothless and defensively a little bit suspect as well. So Arsenal 2-0 victory. The scoreline maybe is a little smaller than you might think, but James, I think it's going to be like a pretty dominant 2-0. Like I can see Arsenal really making Wolves look like a weak team here. Who have you got in that one? Don't tell me you got Arsenal losing now or drawing now.
Jack,
for goodness sake, what on earth?
It's been incredible.
Yeah.
And I don't see us losing this game, Jack.
Okay, good. I was going to say, what are you pulling the rug from under me here?
I don't see us winning it at the same time. I feel like the World Cup is going to play a big part in that. We've been absolutely tremendous. I feel the last few times we've been to Wolves, we've gotten a victory, a tough place to go. Yes, we know what's going on there. But this feels like a game that Diego Costa can just show up and just turn into 2015, 2016. Diego Costa. I'm going to say 1-0.
1-0.
Praying that we get the job done.
I think you'll be fine. But it's interesting to hear you say that. I'll have my eye on that game now. I think that's for sure. James, staying with you, South Coast again, Brighton welcoming an Aston Villa side who beat and upset, I think many would say, Manchester United last weekend. Who have you got, Brighton versus Villa?
Brighton versus, again, Unai Emery coming in is a big thing, Jack. We've seen the reaction there. we should have known that there was going to be something going on from the point of view of a change in a shock value to Aston Villa. And I personally see this continuing. I see Villa coming in and showing the same dynamism that they were able to show against Manchester United. Jack, Leon Bailey looked on fire. You know, you had players like, what's his name? Striker, Jack. What's the striker's name again? Watkins looked fantastic and dynamic, and just overall, like, I was really impressed from what I was able to see from this Villa team. I'm gonna say that they go on and do the same thing. So I'm gonna say 2-0 Aston Villa.
2-0 Aston Villa. Yeah, James, look, I like it. I got 2-1. I think that Brighton is still going to be a tough test. But like you said, James, this is one of the most exciting, dynamic squads that the Premier League has to offer. And you might go, what the hell are you talking about? Guys, Philippe Coutinho, Emiliano Buendia, Leon Bailey, Ollie Watkins, Danny Ings. I mean, if they're wearing a different shirt colour with a different badge on the front, you'd be like, wow, this is one of the better attacking units in the whole of the league. I think it still is. I think they need to be in a position where they're allowed to succeed. I'm not backing Unai Emery. I don't think history favours him from a standpoint of nice, flowing, attacking, exciting football. But I think he's a smart enough guy to be able to figure out what works and what doesn't work. I think we saw what worked. I think we're going to
one of the most decorated managers in the history of football. 4 Europa Leagues is not something to sneeze about.
Exactly. It's a hard competition to win. But again, the new manager bounce is a real thing. It usually lasts like 2 or 3 games, so I'm just going to keep backing that. Brighton are obviously no slouches, so for me, I've only got them 2-1 in that one. James, you had 2-0 in that one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cool.
But to be fair, Brighton too. This is one that if it goes Brighton's way, I wouldn't really be surprised, Jack. They've won their last 2 against Wolves and Chelsea, so that's 2 games really, really tough there, and they're able to come through it.
Fulham, Manchester United. This game, I'm sure have the previous results there in front of you. This feels like a game that Manchester United just always win. I don't know. I don't know if I've ever seen Fulham draw or Fulham win.
Just basing it on the 30 games played, Jack, Manchester United have won 21 of the 30 games played.
Yikes! Yeah, so that's a really big one. But what I will say, James, I was impressed with Fulham last weekend. They should have drawn that game. That was not a penalty, in my opinion. I think Man City got incredibly lucky. Fulham will feel really, really hard done by. And again, looking at the way Fulham play, especially at home, I'm looking at the likes of Mitrovic, Andreas Pereira, and James, Andreas Pereira revenge game. The team that my academy, the guys that let me go, that didn't believe in me, he's going to have, a fire in his belly that he wants to try and destroy Manchester United. And again, defensively, James, Manchester United miss Raphael Varane. I think there's players with their eyes on the World Cup probably thinking about that as well. I just think Fulham will be able to get at this Manchester United team. But obviously, Manchester United team, there's a lot of quality there as well. 2-2 for me. A little bit of an upset. I've got Fulham drawing this one. Although, if Manchester United win, I look at that previous record and just think, what was I thinking?
A game that you're right, Jack. I can see it being a high-scoring game. Both teams defensively don't think that they're that strong. Well, to be fair, Manchester United have been decent under Ten Hag defensively. Not sure what's going to happen with Varane. I think the fact you have Lindelof and Harry Maguire coming in, and De Gea is more used to having the partnership of Martinez and Varane there. Everything just being muddled up might be a bit of an issue there. Hopefully Bruno Fernandes is back, because Manchester United looked very odd without him on the field. The lack of creativity, the lack of going forward.
He's embraced the captaincy like nothing else.
100%. This is a game historically is Manchester United's game, and when I look at these fixtures, I definitely take a look into history, and that to me plays a big importance in my prediction. This game to me is going to be a high-scoring game. I'm going to say 3-1 Manchester United, Jack. 3-1.
I like it. Guys, James, I had this really big lead on James for the longest time. That lead is now 2 games. James might catch me up, and he might well beat me the way I'm calling these games right now. So we could be pretty close to the finishing point here. Again, If you're not subscribed, scroll down, hit subscribe. Just helps me, James, progress this channel to where we want to get it to be. Drop a like on the video as well. Comment your own predictions down here. I said this at the beginning. I don't want to hear any chirping if you're not going to put your own ones down here as well. This is game week 16 predictions. Obviously, we're getting right into kind of the middle part of the year here, just prior to the World Cup. James, anything else from you, mate?
Guys, like, share, and subscribe, and definitely we want to see your comments down. And also, guys, I realize once we get certain things wrong with certain players out, let us know. Yeah. Right? If you have some bloopers, let us know. Comment down below. That's really opens up our eyes and lets us know to do extra research in certain things. So definitely let us know.
Guys, until next time, we'll see you.